Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Olsil, and today I wanted to give you the fifth update on the Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. So, last time I decided to have 6 eyeshadows to work on just because I had one more use in, let's see, in this palette, the Milani Most Loved Mattes palette. I think it's called Come Up Roses, this lightest purple lavender shade here. So I used that one more time, so this is now out of the project. And then I reached my goal on one of the other 5 eyeshadows, which are eyeshadow palettes, which is this BeautyAct Nude Mania eyeshadow quad. And I worked on this latest shade right here. So I had a usage goal of 10 uses on this one, and I reached my goal on that. I just really enjoy this eyeshadow quad. It's so easy, very good quality, just convenient, beautiful shades, and I sort of never get bored from using this, even though it's like, there's some neutral tones, not super exciting, but I feel like this shade is very unique, and the mattes are just amazing. I love this lightest shade. It's just an all-over good palette that I'm very grateful to have in my collection, but this is now out of the project. These 3 next palettes are gonna remain for sure in the project. So we have the Huda Beauty Nude palette. I was working on this Cherise rosy pink purple eyeshadow. This eyeshadow is called Spanked. I have a usage goal of 20 on this one. So far I've only used it 7 times. I don't know, it's very highly pigmented. I only use the tiniest bit, and within this palette it's not my favorite eyeshadow to reach for, but I'm glad I have it in this project because otherwise I probably wouldn't have reached for this eyeshadow whenever I grabbed this eyeshadow palette to work with. So I'm glad. I'm kind of challenging myself a little bit with this one, but it is a beautiful shade. So yeah, I'm gonna, later in the video, I'll show you some eyeshadow looks that I created with all of these palettes. So this will remain in the project. And then we have the Anastasia Norvina palette. Now, I told you last time that this is not a palette I tend to reach for very often. I was very excited when I first got this palette because I've been wanting an Anastasia palette for the longest time. I was eyeing the Modern Renaissance palette, and then this came, and I really thought that I was going to love this palette, but I don't. And I'm sad to say that. It's like, I don't see this being decluttered anytime soon because I really want to love it. So I'm going to take my time, and I'm glad this is in the project because I am really pushing myself to use this. Mainly it's because I don't feel like it suits my undertone, the eyeshadows. They're just very, I don't know what it is. It's just something about these shades that doesn't, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just something about these shades. They're not for me. I don't know what it is. But I have the rose gold shade right here. So this is the shade that this one is the one I'm working on. So far, I've only used it, let's see, 6 times. I have a usage goal of 20 on this one. It's not the worst one. I think more of these purple shades are more difficult for me to use, and some of the pinks as well. There's just, I don't know what it is. But I'm really trying. I'm really trying. So, and also the fallout is not great. It has the worst amount of fallout, this palette, out of all of my eyeshadow palettes in my collection. So, but this will remain in my project probably for a while longer. And then I have the Tati Beauty Volume 1 Textured Neutrals palette. I still have this one orange shade that I'm working on. It is matte with some sparkles in it. It's called Sequin Story. This orange one is the one. I've used it 10 times so far, and I have a usage goal of 20 on this one, so it'll take me a while longer, I assume. But I do enjoy this shade. It's just a little bit, I think I talked about it in my last video, that I just feel like I don't need all of these shades in this palette. I feel like these are very similar to each other, so, but besides that, I think this is a beautiful shade, and it's just really nice to use, you know, during those warmer months with, I don't know, I feel like using warmer tones on my eyeshadows during the summer and then more cooler tones during the winter, for some reason that works very well for me. But obviously it doesn't have to be that way. But yeah, so I'm gonna work on this for a while longer. And then I'm gonna talk to you guys about this Colourpop You Had Me at Hello palette. So I've had this palette in for a while. I was working on this one, and then this brown shade, and then I reached my goal on that. And this time around, I've been working on this shade, which is called Moonstruck. It's a beautiful golden champagne shade, and so far I've used this 17 times, and I have a usage goal of 20 on this one, which means I have 3 more uses left out of this one. And I feel like I might have to, I might not be able to do my next update at the exact time or date that I should do it, because I know during the summer it's always harder to film with the kids being home and all that. So maybe I should continue to work on this, just make sure to use it those last 3 times, and then at the same time introduce another eyeshadow into the project. So for a while I will be working with 6 eyeshadows like I've done previously in the project, and then as soon as I've done those 3 uses, I will go back to having 5 eyeshadow palettes in the project. I think that is the best way to do it, just to make sure I will have a good variety and enough eyeshadows to work on for the coming weeks. So yeah, but just to say something about this eyeshadow, like I said the last time, this is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes, including this eyeshadow. It's beautiful to just put on the lid or as an inner corner highlight, and yeah, it just works really well with many eyeshadows. So I overall love this palette, but unfortunately it's getting too old, so I need to get some use out of it. So I'm very happy that I have been able to work a lot with this palette within this project. And also we have this single eyeshadow in gold from Inglot. The number is 155. This is the only eyeshadow single eyeshadow that I'm tracking this year. And so far I've used this 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 times. I don't think I'm anywhere close to hitting pan, but yeah, I think maybe if I had used a brush every time I apply it, it could have gone a little bit faster, but I prefer to use my finger to apply this on my lids, so maybe that contributes to the slow burn of this eyeshadow, but I love it, so it's fine. And then instead of choosing some single eyeshadows to work on these past few weeks, I decided to choose or to work on this pastels palette from BeautyBay. I just thought it was the perfect time of year to make sure to get some use out of these eyeshadows, and I'm really glad I did that. I got to just play a little bit more with my eyeshadow look this time along, and yeah, that makes me really happy. So I'm gonna show you the eyeshadow looks that I did. Wow, I did so many. I have to, like, this is a record for me so far this year, because a lot of the times I do like the same looks over and over again, and this time around I've done so many. So let's see, which ones am I gonna show you? All right, so this first one was a very soft pastel look that I did, almost leaning to like purple gray, and I combined the pastels palette. I believe I did a soft wash of that orange shade in the inner part of my lid. I used the purple, matte purple shade from Norvina, and then also Colourpop, that gold champagne shade, and BeautyBay, the quad from BeautyBay as well. Then just an easy way to incorporate something colorful into my eyeshadow look is just to put a little bit of yellow in my inner corners. So that's what I did in this one. I used the Huda Nude eyeshadow palette combined with the pastels palette, the yellow pastel shade in that palette, and that was pretty much it. And it was a simple but fun eyeshadow look, I think. So again, pretty simple but more colorful. I combined the pastels palette with the Colourpop palette, and then I used the Spanked shade from Huda Nude as an eyeliner, and I really enjoyed that eyeshadow look. Same as this one, kind of in the same category. I combined the pastels palette with the Huda Nude and the BeautyAct palette, and yeah, just mixed some yellow, some pink, and some minty greeny shades. Really like that one. And I'm just throwing a picture of this eyeshadow look in. Only used a Norvina palette in this one. Just a very soft pink look. I enjoy that one. Here I went with a warmer look, incorporating that orange shade from the Tati palette, as well as some oranges in the pastels palette, and that highlighter from BeautyAct, the BeautyAct palette. Here I used a green cream eyeshadow that I have from BeautyAct called Go for Green under my, like, along my lower lash line, and then I combined that with the Spanked shade from Huda Nude and the pastels palette. So this next eyeshadow look turned out interesting to me. It wasn't exactly what I was going for, but I think it turned out pretty nice. So let's see, I started with some more brownish shades from the Colourpop palette, and then I added this minty shade from the pastels palette, this one right here, but this wasn't pigmented enough, so I went into the Colourpop So Jaded palette, the one that they collabed with, where they collabed with Kathleen Lights, and I applied the aqua metallic shade that's in there, and that was also pretty light in pigmentation. So it ended up being like a super soft minty lid with some warmer tones on the outer part of the eyes or eyelid, and I liked how it turned out, but I was kind of going for something a little bit more opaque, but that's fine. This next one, I combined the Inglot Gold single eyeshadow with the orange shade in the Tati palette, and then the gold champagne shade from Colourpop. In this eyeshadow look, I wanted to apply that gold champagne from Colourpop on the lid. So I did that and combined it with that matte lavender shade from the Norvina palette and the purple shade from the Pastels palette as well. And I really enjoy this eyeshadow look. In this eyeshadow look, I again combined the Inglot single eyeshadow with the shade from rose gold shade from Norvina and also the shade from Colourpop, and I used this Nabla single eyeshadow on like the middle of my lid. In this eyeshadow look, I think I combined most of the palettes in my project. So I used that gold champagne from Colourpop, that Spank from Huda Nude, that rose gold from Norvina, a bunch of colors from the Pastels palette, and the orange shade from the Tati palette. So yeah, I liked how that turned out as well. Here I went all in with that rose gold from the Norvina palette, and I just added some highlight from that Colourpop shade. So it was a fairly easy look to create, but it looks really glam, I think, and I think it turned out pretty nice. Yeah, I liked it. So just that rose gold all over the lid, and I think I darkened the outer part of my lids as well with that darker purple shade from the Norvina palette. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. And this is the last eyeshadow look I did. Yes. So those were all the looks that I wanted to show you guys. And also before I choose, so it's 2 more eyeshadows that I'm gonna roll in this time, I also want to mention I did a kind of declutter, tidying up my freelance makeup artist kit, and I had a bunch of eyeshadow palettes in there. I decluttered all of them except from these 2. So these are now included in my personal eyeshadow collection, and also is going to be one of the palettes that I get to choose my focus shades from. So they're both from Makeup Mekka, called Back to Basics. These are chilled tones and these are burnt tones. So the burnt tones are the warm version, beautiful warm browns. And then I have the chilled tones, which is my favorite, with some really cool toned taupes and lavender and brown neutral shades. So I can't wait to get some use out of these ones. We'll see what I end up rolling in this time. So we're gonna use my Pretty Random app, and now I have more numbers to choose from. So we go from 1 to 227 eyeshadows within the 19 eyeshadow palettes I have. Okay, 2 eyeshadows, 210, 122. Okay. All right, so turns out the first eyeshadow is from this new palette that I brought into my collection, the Chill Tones version from Makeup Mekka. And it is going to be the first shade in here, which is when you turn it this way. This is the first shade. So it is just a very, very simple, pretty light beigey nude shade. It is a little bit lighter than my skin tone. So I think it's going to be a great like all over eyeshadow to set my eyeshadow primer, for instance, or I think I'm going to be able to use this every single time I do an eyeshadow look, so that's good. And I also get to work or try out some of these other shades, I'm sure, as well. So that's really exciting. I'm gonna have a usage goal of 20 on this one. And then the other shade I chose was, or randomized, is from the BeautyBay Bright Matte palette, and I thought, oh my god, that's gonna be so exciting to have another colorful palette, because I know I'm gonna choose something else than this pastels palette this time around. So I wanted some fun colors to work on. But turns out it is the only shade that's not colorful. It is this white, what's it called? Coconut Crush or something like that. Yeah. It's this white shade. Matte white. Which, I mean, that's fine. I can probably use it to blend out the edges of my eyeshadow or something like that. And I'm sure I will touch into some of these bright colors as well. But a little bit boring, but it's fine. At least I get to work on this palette, so that's fine. Now, normally I choose some single eyeshadows for my makeup collection to work on along with these palettes, but like I did last time with choosing the pastels palette to work on instead, I'm gonna choose a palette I've really been missing and I really want to use this time of year. So I thought to myself, if it doesn't get randomly chosen by the Pretty Random app, I am gonna use this instead of some single eyeshadows. So it is the Star Wars Mandalorian from Colourpop, the Child palette. Yeah, I've been really wanting to get some use out of this one again. So this is what that one looks like. I love these greens and yeah, I can't wait to use this. So yeah, I think that's it. A lot of shades to work on, but I'm guessing that I might not be able to do an update exactly when I'm supposed to. At least I have a lot of shades to play around with. Oh, and the white shade in the Bright palette, I'm also going to have a usage goal of 20 on that one too. I think it's going to be a fairly easy eyeshadow to work on. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching and I hope I will see you in my next video. Bye! My god, I totally forgot to swatch these eyeshadows for you guys. I've put everything away and I was like, I feel like I forgot something. Sorry about that. I'm gonna quickly swatch these eyeshadows for you. So we have that Sandstorm shade, which was like a very matte, light beigey shade from that Chill Tones palette from Makeup Mekka. And then we had from Bright Matte palette from BeautyBay, very much the same shade, just this is like a matte white, but really you can use these for the same purpose, I feel like. And then we have that golden champagne shade in called Moonstruck from You Had Me at Hello from that Colourpop palette. And then we have that matte pinky purple shade called Spanked from the Huda Nude palette, which is that one. And then the rose gold metallic eyeshadow from the Norvina palette. It is a really beautiful shade. Wow. And then lastly, we have the orange shade called Sequin Story with that sparkling glitter in it as well. So we have all of these shades. Let me see. So all of these shades I'm going to be working on for the coming weeks.